Most women in their 20s and 30s think that they know about egg freezing, but they don't. The reason may be a lack of adequate counseling or a simple lack of knowledge about fertility.
I have heard of egg freezing. I don't know a lot about it, probably just the basics of definitely not any of the technical things of how they go in there and how they freeze them or anything, but I do know it is an option.
They didn't really say that to me. I don't know if it has to do with my age, but they didn't really say anything about fertility, or they talked about safe sex, obviously. But that's really it, and like birth control options. That's really it. My mom might have said some things to me about it, but nothing like the medicine-wise. Like none of my physicians have said that to me.
I don't know too much about it. Most of what I know is from like TVs and movies and stuff. I basically know, obviously a woman has a certain amount of time or a certain period of time in her life where she's fertile. And so during that time, it's possible to like harvest your eggs and freeze them so that either you or somebody else can carry a child for you at a later date.
I'm pretty sure, actually I'm sure as shit that I'm not the only 36-year-old single woman in Erie.
Stephanie Montgomery is a real estate agent in Erie, Pennsylvania, who is turning 37 and one of the few women in her community who's open about the realities of egg freezing.
It started off where I was just going to have a big old shower and invite all my friends, and then it ended up turning into something much bigger. I decided to make it bigger to hopefully develop a platform for other women who perhaps were in my shoes to start a new fundraising source in Erie, because nobody's ever done this here.
She called it Steph's Extravagant. Many of her friends, family, and networking group members showed up to this most unusual fundraiser of about 200 people.
When I initially went with my clinic to the clinic to inquire, I was really just exploring and just trying to get information. I left there knowing that I had to do it. So it was, I mean, you hear of it, obviously. You hear of egg preservation, and that's possible, and I didn't know the popularity of it or how often it was done.
Single women without children in their 30s often have been stigmatized and pressured to marry and start a family. That pressure began to ease about 6 years ago when an advanced egg freezing method called vitrification or flash freezing became commonly available.
My mom used to joke about it 10 years ago. She used to joke with it 15 years ago, actually. She used to joke and say, "Stephanie, you should freeze your eggs." Haha, Mom. Well, I should have. Hindsight's 2020. So really started seriously thinking about it within the past year.
Today, egg freezing, also medically referred to as oocyte cryopreservation, is one of the most commonly used assisted reproductive technology procedures in the United States. A woman's eggs, also known as oocytes, are taken from her ovaries and stored in a liquid nitrogen container below freezing temperature, making it more likely than older, slower methods to result in a successful fertilization.
Before early 2000s, we were using the process called slow freezing. This process of slow freezing allowed for is crystal formation, ice crystal formation from the water contained in the cell, which had a potential to damage the cells.
This new method, vitrification, can plunge egg temperature to 170 degrees below zero in a matter of seconds,
which does not allow for crystal formation. And so vast majority of eggs, more than 90% of eggs, are now surviving the thaw when frozen through this procedure.
After eggs are stored, it is not over quite yet. If you decide to use these eggs, there is no guarantee one viable egg will lead to a pregnancy. According to the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, when using the slow freeze method, one egg has a 2 to 12% chance of developing into a fetus, while vitrification has a better result of 4 to 14%. Doctors recommend a certain amount of eggs per cycle to increase a woman's chances.
It really will depend on the age and when you were going through the process when you were freezing the eggs and from the number of eggs that are frozen.
Dr. James Stelling, an endocrinologist at Reproductive Specialists of New York, explains what needs to be done prior to starting the egg freezing process.
The assessment at that first visit is very important to figure out whether someone should do this or not. The body is designed to make one egg at a time. The brain and pituitary gland are controlling the egg production primarily with two main hormones called FSH and LH. So ultimately, when we're trying to get more eggs, we kind of override the brain's control mechanisms, and ultimately they're taking injections of the hormones FSH and LH. They tend to take the injections about 10 days. And we are guessing, based upon their age and their body size and what their hormone levels look at, what the original dose should be.
Though there isn't any guarantee, doing egg freezing, most women choose to stick with the process.
I didn't want to have to feel pressure to date somebody knowing that I wanted a family someday. So this 100% eliminates that pressure. I feel I can just kind of let things happen.
4 years ago, prominent tech companies like Facebook, Google, and Amazon added egg freezing to their employee healthcare packages. However, many other employers have yet to add this, leaving thousands of women uncovered. Meanwhile, other women are finding unique ways to raise these out-of-pocket expenses and raise awareness in social media. Building a family was not at the front of Stephanie's mind. After talking with a reproductive specialist, she could finally turn off the ticking sound of her biological clock.
He highly recommended that I do it because of the risk factors increasing after a certain age. And he suggested that I do it if I have the means. I don't have the means. I don't have $10,000 to $15,000 laying around. So I decided to create the means.
Fertility clinics such as Extend Fertility is known to be one of the most affordable clinics in New York City, providing women the option of discount and payment plan packages. Florence, a former Extend patient, took advantage of this opportunity.
I did the procedure at 35 last year. I didn't do the procedure earlier because I didn't have the means and the funds to have done it in my 30s. It was something I definitely wanted to do, so I kept putting on hold, and then when I turned 34, that was kind of like an awakening.
Women also choose to freeze their eggs for medical reasons. Kimberly Lickletter, a patient at Reproductive Specialists of New York, at 33 chose to go through with it based on her family history of premature menopause.
I definitely feel like it's the right decision. I can't change my anatomy, I can't change my blood work. If you had asked me 10 years ago, this probably was not my inclination. I would have preferred things to just work out as they work out, but I don't have any regrets. I still think that this is the right way to go because it's the only thing that I can do to really ensure that I might have that possibility in the future.
Certain medical conditions that will lead to either loss of fertility abruptly or are associated with loss of fertility earlier than it should happen in life. The most commonly known treatments that affect fertility negatively like this are certain cancer treatments such as chemo and radiation.
Whether egg freezing is an insurance policy or not, women at an early age should be aware of their fertility status.
I wouldn't mind if AMH levels were checked more frequently at your regular well-woman visit. If you're a single woman and thinking about future fertility. And if their clock is ticking faster, then maybe freezing eggs might be more beneficial for them because their clock is ticking faster. If their clock is ticking slower, we can maybe calm them a little bit and make them not quite as worried about their fertility potential in the future because their egg quality might be better than someone else their age.
Progeny, a fertility employer benefits company, estimates that 76,000 women will freeze their eggs by this year. For Stony Brook News, I'm Giselle Miranda.